Hi, let me tell you the story of a good story. And I really can't do that without actually taking you through a good story. I'll tell you today the story of JFK, John F. Kennedy, 35th President of United States, who led just a fantastic life to become what he became. Let's start from the start. JFK was born with a silver spoon. His father was a big financier and he was also a senator in Boston, finally became the ambassador to England. He studied in Harvard in political science, did very, very well, and he wrote a book called Why England Slept as his thesis, which was about why England was slow in reacting to the Second World War. He himself participated in the World War, extremely brave soldier. He saved two people in a blast on a marine, and he was awarded a very important prestigious medal for this activity. He got into politics, again one of the youngest ever senators in Boston, ran for Senate again and again and kept winning till he wrote another book which was called Profiles in Courage, which was about great Americans. This book won him a Pulitzer Prize. While being a senator, he fell in love with Jacqueline, a reporter, a journalist, and they got married soon after. One of the most beautiful, dynamic couples of United States. As it happened, Kennedy decided to fight his elections. Again, as one of the youngest participants ever, he left no stone unturned. He traveled the length and breadth of the country, and wherever he went, he was loved by all. It was also the time when the first televised debates came into picture. Nixon, who was his adversary, a very experienced politician, was tipped to become the president anyhow. And that was JFK, who was suave, good looking, and he used the medium to his advantage. Let's look at this clip.
Here are some revealing excerpts from the great debate. The subject under discussion was recent Democratic legislation.
The reason why these particular bills in various fields have been mentioned were not passed was not because the President was against it. It was because the people were against it. It was because they were too extreme.
Well, now let's look at these bills that the Vice President suggests were too extreme. One was a bill for $1.25 an hour for anyone who works in a store or a company that has $1 million a year business.
You can
I don't
see
think that
what
was
happened.
extreme at all.
JFK was just made for TV, and Nixon was not. By a very thin margin, but a margin, he became the President of United States. A very loved president. This speech, a memorable speech, is often quoted.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
It would have been quoted innumerable amount of times. He didn't start so well with Bay of Pigs as an event where America almost lost to Cuba and had to go back on a lot of things that JFK promised. He also signed the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, which meant that people could test under land but not under sea and not under air, which really meant nothing. He started over investing in the trip to the moon, and he was a big supporter of the Black Freedom Movement. He also got himself embroiled in a lot of world politics, which some of the people did not like. On the other hand, his public and private life always was in full scrutiny. People were getting a dose of his family life. This is here with his daughter. Extremely photogenic. The couple was everywhere in America, and America loved them. The first couple of America, truly in the television age. His speeches drew amazing number of people. He was certainly the most loved and most powerful person on earth on November 2nd, 1963, when he was touring Dallas. Here in the car, you see Jacqueline and him sitting in the back, the mayor of Texas sitting in the front with his wife, and then two bodyguards sitting right in the front. Let's watch what happens when he goes through this road. You will see the car coming in. There's the car. Try to focus on JFK if you can. He's doing something to his tie. Oh. Within a moment, the most powerful, loved person of the world is dead. That's his son. 6 hours of his death, a man has been captured by FBI. It's clear that 3 shots were fired from the 6th floor window of a building behind from where the car was coming. There was a single assassin who killed Kennedy. The vice president is already sworn in. This is how the man.
Well, I was questioned by a judge. However, I protested at that time that I was not allowed legal representation.
In bringing
Within
Oswald
24
out,
hours of him being caught, he is shot dead. Again, on TV in broad daylight, he's shot dead. Nobody is able to save him. A commission is set to study how did JFK die. The commission comes back with this theory. 3 bullets shot, 2 bullets, almost miss Kennedy. 1 bullet, which is called the magic bullet, has a trajectory which is something like this. Comes from the back. It goes to the left into the neck. It goes into the hand, the shoulder of Connolly, the Texas mayor, and then goes into his wrist, and then goes into his left thigh, and that's where the bullet is found. The bullet is shot from behind. That's the trajectory it takes. There's one person firing 3 bullets from the back. And now if you remember the video, let me just play it again. Notice where is the bullet coming from. This bullet, what you see in CE856 is a bullet, the same bullet which goes through human bone. CE853 is a bullet which goes through plants. CE572 is when the bullet goes through cloth, and CE399 is the bullet that FBI found that killed John F. Kennedy and made all those different iterations. So what is going on here? How did the whole media had so much of information about that assassin in just 6 hours? There were pictures, there were historical articles, etc., etc. Who benefited from this murder? and who has the power to cover this up? Two years later, Robert Kennedy, brother of John F. Kennedy, is shot dead in broad daylight. Abraham Lincoln was earlier killed by an actor while he was watching a play. Martin Luther King was shot dead by a single person. So was John Lennon, a single person. Yeah, it has happened at home as well. Okay, maybe two people. So who benefited from these murders and who has the power to cover this up? Friends, if I told you a good story, you would have been emotionally moved. You can't unsee it and you will act. And that is the power of a good story. A good story will make you act. So when you all want people to act, you will tell them good stories. And why does it happen? Because there's a complete neuroscience behind it. When you're talking to people with data, this is what happens. The frontal cortex lights up. When you're talking to people with stories, this is what happens. The whole brain lights up for the audience. When I told you the story, a lot of hormones released, cortisol released. When I kept asking you to look at this picture, oxytocin got released when I talked about the empathy, the relatability. Dopamine happened when I talked about the closure, when I talked about the question which opened up possibilities. Endorphins I did not use today. And this happens because there's an innate need of survival through storytelling. Three people that you should definitely look at if you're interested in the neuroscience of storytelling are David J.P. Phillips, Professor Paul Sack, and Karen Eber. He talks about immersion and how easy it is to now measure if your audience is immersed or not. David J.P. Phillips talks about the different hormones, the angel's cocktail and the devil's cocktail that you can release in your users. Let me come to the art of storytelling now. In this, I talk about 10 points which I've synthesized over the years, which makes a story a good story. The first point is critical. Promises are made at the start. How do you start the story? What is the title? Does it promise something? Does it live up to the promise later? If you remember the opening sequences of Barbie, Oppenheimer, remember? This is what I did today. The second point is the premise is set miserly with rich details, which means you'll have to drop in some introductory bits and you'll have to be detailed and rich about it, but not too much, just enough. Remember the trailer of Panchayat? How does it introduce the different elements which will be used during the web series later? Or what I did, I was trying to set it up for you, an important thing. The third point is around the protagonist is vulnerable and honest. If the audience cannot trust the protagonist, there'll be a mistrustful storyteller as well. Remember some of the best acts, some of those best pieces that you remember of storytelling. The next point is that the stakes have to be high, very high. And if the stakes are not high, why am I watching it? Why am I listening to the story? The stakes are not high. The Garden of Eden, if the eating of the apple did not completely alienate the humanity or life in general, then would it be exciting? No. If in Ramayana the Vanvas was only for 14 days, would it be exciting? No. If Sita had gone to her friend's place and came late, would that be exciting? No. The stakes have to be high, very, very high. And the higher the stakes, the more attention you grab from the audience. There's a constant play of tension and release. Keep it all running. It will not work. You run, you pace it right. Go slow, go fast. The circle of expectation is breached, not broken. If you cheat the audience, if you make them see an end which they completely did not expect, that's also not so good. They should just be taken out of their comfort zone, but not completely shown the opposite of what they wanted or what they have assumed. They want to feel intelligent about themselves, not stupid. Remember Truman Show and how he just walks out of it. Promises are fulfilled. There's a powerful closing with a value. You need to talk about value. You need to talk about what is the takeaway. What I said at the start is now getting completed. If you as a storyteller do not care deeply about the story, then there is no point in telling the story. If I were to not care about the death of the first president of the United States and how it happened in broad daylight and how strange all this is, then why would you get interested? You would not. Have you seen a dastan go telling a story, how deeply he or she is involved? The storyteller respects the audience capabilities. Dumping down is something that I've heard so many often. It is up to you if you want to dumb it down, but you need not dumb it down. You can actually use the gutter space for people to think what happened, and that makes a lot of sense as well. If you treat your audience as poets and storytellers, they would behave like poets and storytellers, and if you treat them dumb, that's what you will get. Finally, the purpose decides the medium. There are so many different mediums possible. Let's not get stuck to one particular medium. Sometimes the material can speak, sometimes the camera can speak, sometimes the theater can speak, sometimes the playback can speak, sometimes graphics, sometimes sand art. This is a continuum. Towards the right, what you see is storytelling for therapy. On the left hand, you see mass media storytelling. This whole continuum, and you need to choose why you are choosing what, how much audience interaction do you want, and what is the purpose, and that's how you will choose which medium you want to choose, because medium is the message. And all of this, now my design friends, how you're going to use, of course there's a complete workshop on how we're going to use it, but you're intelligent. You get what I'm trying to say. We have storytelling at almost every step in design. We look at research, we need to tell the story. We look at our ideas, we need to tell a story, we need to tell the story. We look at user research, results, you again need to tell the story. These are all possibilities where you tell stories to different stakeholders at different times. If we can use the elements of storytelling and release the right hormones, you can get the desired result, is what I'm talking about. So my friends, this was the story of a good story. I hope you add a few elements of these in your storytelling sessions across your design process. Thank you very much.